Welcome back to the American History Hub. Tonight, we're diving into some world history, the fascinating and often frustrating relationship between China and India. These two countries are not just neighbors, they're two of the most populous nations on Earth, each with a rich history and a significant impact on global affairs. These two Asian giants have a history that's longer than a CVS receipt and just as convoluted. From ancient trade routes to modern-day diplomacy, their interactions have shaped the region in countless ways. They're neighbors, they're rivals, they're economic powerhouses, and they're both armed with enough nukes to make Oppenheimer himself say, "Whoa, maybe dial it back a bit." The nuclear capabilities of both nations add a layer of complexity and caution to their relationship. So what's the deal with these two? Why is their relationship so intricate and often tense? Well, they share a massive border. This border stretches over 2,167 miles, making it one of the longest international borders in the world. Think about the longest line you can imagine. Now picture it running through some of the most challenging terrains on the planet. Now imagine it covered in mountains, glaciers, and enough tension to power a small city. The Himalayas, with their towering peaks and treacherous passes, form a natural barrier that has both united and divided these nations. That's the China-India border in a nutshell. It's a place where soldiers from both sides stand watch, ever vigilant, and where skirmishes can break out with little warning. And it's been a source of conflict for decades. From the Sino-Indian War of 1962 to recent standoffs, this border has seen its fair share of tension and bloodshed. But it's not all doom and gloom. Despite the conflicts, there's also a story of cooperation and mutual benefit. China and India also have a surprisingly robust economic relationship, with billions of dollars worth of goods flowing between them each year. They trade like there's no tomorrow, and they're both members of important international organizations. So yeah, it's complicated. Both countries are part of groups like BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, where they work together on various issues. Think Ross and Rachel from the show Friends, but with more nuclear weapons. Their relationship is a mix of cooperation and competition, with moments of tension and reconciliation. Buckle up, folks, because we're going deep into the wild world of China-India relations. From border disputes to trade agreements, from cultural exchanges to military standoffs, this is a story that has it all. Stay tuned as we unravel the complexities of one of the most intriguing bilateral relationships in the world. Let's talk real estate, folks, but not the kind you see on HGTV. We're diving into a different kind of property battle, one that's been brewing for decades and involves more than just a few angry neighbors. We're talking about two particularly nasty pieces of property, Aksai Chin and Arunachal, Pradesh. These aren't your typical suburban lots. These are vast, rugged terrains that have seen more than their fair share of conflict. Both are geographically stunning, strategically important, and claimed by both China and India. The stakes are high, and the tension is palpable. Imagine a chessboard where every move could lead to a checkmate. It's kind of like finding out your dream home is also being claimed by that weird neighbor who collects garden gnomes. Only in this case, the stakes are much higher than a quirky lawn decoration. Aksai Chin is a high-altitude desert, basically the world's least hospitable beach resort. Picture a place where the air is thin, the temperatures are extreme, and survival is a daily challenge. China controls it, but India claims it's part of Ladakh. This isn't just a matter of national pride. It's about strategic advantage and control over crucial resources. Why does it matter? Well, China built a very strategic highway through it, which really annoys India. This highway isn't just a road, it's a lifeline for military and economic activities, making it a critical asset. Then there's Arunachal Pradesh, a mountainous region with lush forests and a lot less sand. It's a stark contrast to Aksai Chin, offering a more hospitable environment, but no less contentious. India controls it, but China claims it as South Tibet. This isn't just a cartographic quirk. It's a deeply rooted geopolitical issue that affects millions of lives. They even issue maps where Arunachal Pradesh is part of China, which, let's be honest, is not the best way to win friends and influence people. These maps are more than just lines on paper. They represent a clash of national identities and ambitions. These territorial disputes are like that awkward family dinner, where everyone pretends to get along while secretly eyeing the last piece of pie. Only in this case, the pie is a massive expanse of land, rich in resources and strategic value. And in this case, the pie is thousands of square miles of land. And instead of forks, they have, well, armies. The stakes are incredibly high, and the potential for conflict is ever present, making this one of the most complex and dangerous territorial disputes in the world. Speaking of armies, let's not forget the time China and India actually went to war. It was 1962. The Cold War was heating up, and tensions over the border boiled over. China, feeling strong, decided to teach India a lesson. The result? A short but brutal war that China won handily. India was left feeling humiliated, and the relationship hasn't fully recovered. But the fighting didn't stop there. In 2020, things got physical again in the Galwan Valley. Soldiers on both sides clashed with rocks, clubs, and whatever else they could get their hands on. It was a brutal reminder that old wounds haven't healed, and the border remains a powder keg. These clashes are a constant reminder that the China-India relationship is a bit like a dance floor. One wrong step and someone's getting a face full of fist, or a rock, or something worse. A tale of two economies, competition and cooperation. Let's talk money. China and India aren't just geopolitical rivals, they're also economic powerhouses. China is the world's factory, churning out everything from iPhones to carnival toys. India, meanwhile, is a rising tech giant, with a booming IT sector and numerous startups. They also trade extensively with each other. China needs India's market, and India needs China's goods. It's a classic case of frenemies. They compete, but also need each other. Imagine Apple and Samsung sharing a cafeteria. Awkward, right? You get what I'm saying? Awkward, but also necessary. The economic relationship between China and India is a complex dance of cooperation and competition. They're like two sharks circling each other, waiting for the other to slip up. But they know a feeding frenzy benefits no one. Whispers of World War, a global nightmare. The mere mention of World War III sends shivers down the spine of anyone who understands the gravity of such a conflict. It's important to face these realities head-on. Remember how we talked about nukes earlier? Those terrifying weapons that have the power to obliterate entire cities in the blink of an eye? When you have two nuclear-armed countries with a history of conflict, the stakes are unimaginably high. People start whispering about World War III. It's not just idle chatter, it's a genuine fear that keeps many up at night. Nobody wants to see that. The devastation would be beyond anything we've ever seen. It would be like the season finale of every disaster movie ever made, but in real life and with real consequences. No special effects, no second takes. Lives lost, cities destroyed, and a world forever changed. A direct war between China and India is unlikely, but the potential for miscalculation or escalation is always there. One wrong move, one misunderstood signal, and things could spiral out of control. It's a delicate balance, a high-stakes game where the margin for error is razor thin. It's like playing a game of chicken with a semi-truck, both sides speeding towards each other, hoping the other will swerve first. You might think you can swerve at the last minute, but in this game, the consequences of misjudgment are catastrophic. The stakes are life and death, not just for the players, but for millions of innocent lives. The ripple effects of such a conflict would be felt worldwide. The world is a tangled web of alliances, each one pulling others into the fray. Any conflict between major powers has the potential to drag everyone else into the abyss. It's a domino effect, where one piece falling can bring down the entire structure. The repercussions would be felt in every corner of the globe. It's like a really bad game of Jenga. One wrong move, and the whole thing comes crashing down. The stability we've worked so hard to build is fragile. The world as we know it could change in an instant, and not for the better. What are your thoughts? Thank you for joining us on American History Hub. See you next time.